Welcome to the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering podcast. This is our 9th in the series, and we hope you enjoy them and subscribe to receive them when produced, usually about one a month. I am Jim Buchanan, your host. The 38th Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering is in its planning stages for August 6th, 7th, and 8th in Prescott, Arizona. So please be sure to put that on your calendar and plan to attend. I want to thank the Fane Signature Group, Talking Glass Media, Guy Rodgensen, Director, Cast 11, Tony Tedford, Multimedia Producer, and all their staff. They've been extremely nice to work with and professional in every way. We highly recommend them. Today I have guests Floyd and Valerie Beard. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They're from Kim, Colorado, and we were lucky enough to catch them as they were heading home to the ranch in Kim from down in Sierra Vista. They were at the Cochise Cowboy Poetry Gathering, one of the other Arizona gatherings that we have down in southern Arizona. They are, as you'd perceive, husband and wife, and cowboys, ranchers. They're kind of what we call the real deal. And they are award-winning and very popular cowboy poets. They're going to be featured in our Friday night show as headline entertainers, husband and wife. So we're happy to see that. Floyd, how many years have you been doing cowboy poetry?
Well, I have to count back. I first started writing poetry in the 1970s. And
that's a ways ago.
That's a ways ago, yes. And the first performance I did, I guess, was in the 1980s for my dad.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted me to come and present to his retired teachers group.
Oh.
And so I did some of my poems there. And at that time, I didn't really think of cowboy poetry as a genre. I was just a cowboy that wrote poetry. And I presented some of my poems to the retired teachers, and they liked it.
Nice.
And I enjoyed doing it. And so first thing you know, I was asked to do it for the church group. And so I went back and I did it for the church group, and that went over well. One of the church members was connected with the museum, and so I got a chance to present at the museum, and it just started growing from there and kind of snowballing. And
of course, back in 1970, there really were not formal gatherings as they are now, and as they began to develop in the 80s. I know we started in 88, and I think Elko started 2 years before, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of got us to the point where the public began to really appreciate what you do when you tell a story in poetry form. And I know some of those are just purely about ranch life, and some of them are purely fun. And some of them, I think, have a special message. And you do a poem called Papa Noel.
I do.
Would you do that one for us?
I can do that one. Give you a little background on that one.
Super.
I was raised in northeastern New Mexico, and a lot of my growing up in the schools and around northeastern New Mexico, a lot of my friends, of course, were of Mexican descent, and we had a great time in school and would often throw in a lot of, I think today they call it Spanglish, throwing in a lot of Spanish words with our conversations, and our teachers always told us not to do that. And of course, we did it more. And so I wanted to write a poem that kind of reflected that time in my life and honored some of the people back down in Harding County, New Mexico. And so one day it just came to me that this is the poem I ought to write. And it's been a really fun one, really popular, and probably my most requested poem.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So would you like that one right now?
Sure, share it with us.
It was la noche before Christmas, and all across the ranch, there no animals was moving. The owl, he sits still on his branch. Me wool socks were laid out by the Kiva all right. Possible Papa Noel find 'em there later tonight. Me children were snuggled all warm in their beds, while visions of sopapillas y tamales dance in their heads. Mamacita in her flannels, Long John's got my nod. We were just about dreaming of Feliz Navidad. When out in the corral, the cows, they start mooing. The dogs is all barking. A real racket is brewing. This racket is scare me. I jump out of bed. I trip on the house cat and I fall on me head. I open the door just a little, and I barely peek through. I think maybe it's a witch, a diablo, a coyote or two. But the moon is so big and bright in the sky, I can see the whole barnyard. It's no wonder why. And then I think my eyes have gone bad, or maybe they're full of the wolves, 'cause I see a little cartera pulled by 8 corriente bulls. And the caminero who drive them so fast and so well, I knew muy pronto it was Papa Noel. Muy rapido like jaguars, these toros they came. And he holler, and he yell, and he call them by name. Alberto, Ponchito, Diego, Miguel, you there, Vicente, Francisco, Pablo y Manuel. Arriba, get up there, or I'll whip you, I warn. Get up past the shed roof, get up on the barn. And they flew up like a storm blew them there. And they snorted, and they pulled a cartera with no care. Up past the shed roof to the barn roof they flew. And up went the cartera. He toys, he Papa Noel too. And then in a moment on the barn tin, I can hear every hoof. And I think one left a cow pie up there on the roof. I closed the door and I hid behind the wood bin. I hear a crash in the attic and Papa Noel tumble in. He's got on a serape and a sombrero grand, and his clothes are all trail worn and covered with sand. He's got the big pack made from the cowhide, and it's jammed full of toys and presents inside. He looked like a traveler, yet friendly somehow, and he moves smooth as a dancer before taking a bow. His handlebar mustache almost cover his smile, and his black whiskers, they're cut machismo style. He's got leather wrist cuffs above soft calfskin gloves, and the conchos on his leggings, they're of crosses and doves. He's muy grande. He's an hombre for sure. Yet he have a smile so soft and demure. He's an hombre, yet jolly. And on his behalf, I tell you, in spite of myself, he made me laugh. He looked around mi casa at our stocking and tree. I know we're amigos, this hombre and me. He don't say nothing. He opened his pack wide, and he filled all our stockings with things from inside. Then he looked back at the attic, where he tumbled in before. He just shrugged his shoulders. He walked out the door. Then he jumped back on the barn, like child's play that part, and he scratches his bulls, and he hop in his cart, and he say, as they fly away, 'cause his bulls he did prod, Buenos noches, mis amigos, y feliz Navidad, Papa Noel.
That's wonderful. Gosh, I know when you present that poem to our audiences, they just love it.
Yeah, they do.
It's one of your best, and the way you.
Well, I used to speak with a pretty good accent back then, and so it comes a little natural. But not nearly as much as it used to, but hopefully it gives a little flavor of how I grew up.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
And there's lots of those Mexican people that were wonderful ranchers and cowboys and, just finest people on earth.
Wonderful horseman.
Yes. Yep. Nice. Valerie, I know you've not publicly written and performed cowboy poetry as long as Floyd, but when did you get started and what motivated that?
Well, I was looking at it the other day, and just about right at 10 years now, I've been writing and performing. But, I would go with Floyd to all these gatherings and sit in the audience and support him and loved it. And then we were at the International Western Music Association convention, and I went to a poetry writing workshop with Floyd that Dale Page had put on. And Dale is just such a master, and it just writes beautiful, precise poetry. And he was talking about rhyme and specifically meter. And I thought, the way he had it laid out, I think that would be kind of fun to try. As a teacher, the biggest challenge and the most fun was always to teach young children to write and to appreciate writing. And so I love to write. And so I sat down one day and to get the material for this poem, Floyd and his friends, Terry Nash and Dennis Russell, had headed off together to go to the Texas Cowboy Poetry Gathering in Alpine. Mm-hmm. And I think it was in February. And they were predicting a snowstorm to come. And so I said, you guys go. I will go home and feed the cows and do all the chores. And, you guys have fun. So that's what I did. And indeed, we got a blizzard. They got on down the road and went to Alpine, and I was at home with the cows and the dogs and the blizzard. So, our lives are rich with opportunities for material. So I decided to sit down and write a poem about that. And I got it all put together, and then they were doing a poetry contest at the Western Music Association convention, and they called and said, "Are you going to enter or not?" Because I'd been on the fence about it. I said, finally, "Oh, yes, I'll do it." So I got it all put together and competed. And as I was going up on the stage that day, I was thinking to myself, what am I thinking? Whatever made me think that this was a good idea to do? But lo and behold, I competed in the novice division and I won it. And so after that, there was pretty much no turning back. So that's when I wrote the poem, No Better Life.
Would you do that poem for us?
I'd be happy to, Jim.
Super.
The old faucet drips as slowly she sips her coffee in morning's dull glow. Storms raging a battle. She's home with the cattle. The temperature reads 5 below. The wind was a-blowing. It was still snowing. She stepped out to do morning chores. The snow is a-drifting with icy snake sifting. A solid sheen sealed the barn doors. Wet flakes stung her face. She steadied her pace. Her scarf danced an icy staccato. Wires thrummed out a wail. Trees bent to the gale. Barn eaves moaned a mournful vibrato. Inside it was still. She forked them their fill. They nickered from stalls safe and warm. She calmed down their fears, scratched soft neck and ears, then plunged right back into the storm. The truck started rough, but it was enough. She'd loaded the bales night before, then drove from the haystack with 2 dogs in the back and one settled down on the floor. Adrift to the knee, she broke the gate free and plowed into the sheltered corral. With no cows in there yet, a feller could bet that old horn Rip would soon be her pal. Was it worth the chance to play the gate dance just in case the old Jessies came in? She rolled bales to the ground and glanced round at the sound of that old horn cow, just sporting a grin. Horn sallied right up and started to sup on a bale that she had jerked to the ground. Ignoring that cow, the wife furrowed her brow and spread hay with a vigor new found. Then, confronting the cow, the wife knew that somehow she must wrestle that bale on again. With a wave and the yell, old Horn could just tell it was time to move on in the pen. Now, with the cow gone, she tossed the bale on. The dogs hunkered down by the spare. She crawled back in the truck, spun out through the muck, back into the rime-frosted air. Her cowboy's away, thoughts with her today. He worries for her with the chores. They'd predicted a squall, and it arrived at nightfall. He wished she could just stay indoors. But back home in the gale, she knows without fail, the ice in the tank will be frozen. A lick of the axe and several hard whacks. She thinks of the life that they've chosen. Shards flew here and there, spray froze in the air. Ice chunks were soon scattered about. Cows filtered in slow. They all seemed to know that she'd be there for them, there's no doubt. Cows walked to their hay, a bovine buffet. She's glad they'd come in from the range. Now, 2 years in a drought, but they'd never sell out. She knew others might think that strange. Stood watching them eat while the wild wind beat at her clothes, caked and frozen with snow. Then, after a while, walked off with a smile and thought no better life she could know.
That's a beautiful poem, Valerie.
Thank you.
And I know from visiting with many ranch wives that they share your sentiments very, very sincerely.
It was a cold day.
And it's, to me, it's kind of amazing because, I guess we take the easy way out most of the time. And when there's snow on the ground, we stay inside and we don't go out. But from having horses for a number of years and getting out at 5 a.m. to feed them and that, there's not much that gives you a better feeling than getting out and being with animals early in the morning and maybe the sun is coming up or the snow is coming down. It's hard to tell, but it just, I miss it because we no longer have horses, but I think about it quite a bit. Good times. Floyd, you do a column.
I do.
Of cowboy poetry and ranch life and such. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was 3 years ago I started a column that I write called Shortgrass Philosopher. And I write a script about the time of year and things that are happening on the ranch. And that kind of sets the theme. And then I segue into a poem that I write on the same theme as the text. And I put that out once a month and send it to, there's about 14 different newspapers, magazines.
Nice.
I started with the Fence Post in Colorado, and it's kind of syndicated and branched out from there. Been going for 3 years now, so it's getting a little bit of longevity to it.
Good.
And
Good.
Has a readership of about 2.5 to 3 million possible readers.
People that see it anyway.
Yes.
Whether or not they take the time to enjoy it is a question.
Them. Right. I get a lot of feedback on it, so I know some people do. And I enjoy doing it, and it keeps me writing because I have to write a good poem for it every month. So, I stay active writing.
We're springtime now, or I guess you could call it early summertime. And this year in Arizona, it's feeling like early summertime because it's been so warm, although I understand it's going to cool off a little bit in about a week. But But you have a poem called Early Summertime.
I do.
Would you do that for us?
Sure. And it talks about if there's been some fair moisture and you get some grass growing, that the grass will come up, and before it heads out, it's in the boot. And in the early summertime, you'll have grass in the boot, and the buds come on the cholla. And then later they'll bloom into really beautiful blossoms. But when the buds are on the cholla and the grass is in the boot, early summertime. When you're riding in the canyons in the early summertime, and it's just breaking daylight and the world seems sublime, canyon wrens are trilling proudly. You hear the horned owl's haunting hoot when the buds are on the cholla and the grass is in the boot. Cottonwoods along the bottom shimmer in the morning breeze, and they sparkle and they glitter as early sun rays kiss their leaves. The morning air is cool and soothing, but it will soon get hot as you ride beneath wild grapevines tangled in a woody knot. You see clusters of baby grapes, paltry marbles, that is all, but they predict a tasty harvest. Jams and jellies come next fall. Morning beauty from the maker, you give quick thanks to him as you see early sun rays glowing rosy on a dim and distant rim. And then you spot the strays you're hunting, hear rocks roll up above as they race to get around you. It's a game you've come to love. And your pony's ears prick forward. He's ready for the chore. He's searching for their trail now, for he's played this game before. They don't want no fenced-in pastures or under sheds and fed mowed hay. And though you feel the same about it, you race out after 'em anyway. And you see the leader stop and shake her rack, and then she begins to paw. But you see the other riders closing in from down the draw, and you've soon got 'em bunched and trailing, across the valley to the ranch. You race out and cut a quitter, cutting around a cedar branch, and there's no time more inviting, trailing strays to the chute, than when the buds are on the cholla and the grass is in the boot. Early summertime.
Something that I learned to appreciate it as I had the opportunity to ride with some cowboys is how close they are to nature. They, we get caught up in the lives that we exist in, and we drive down the freeways and maybe see a glimpse of a sunrise and think that's pretty, but we don't stop to smell the grass and, see what's really going on out there. And we need to do more of that. And I'm glad that all you cowboy poets bring those things to us in a way that we can feel. And
you get to be out there and enjoy and live the seasons of the year.
Yes. Yep, sure do.
Not just leaf peeping in the fall, but there's the early summertime, there's summer, there's all the different seasons. And Valerie just talked about some of the joys of winter ranching.
Yep.
And all of those seasons blend into the life of a cowboy.
Valerie, how many gatherings do you and Floyd get to usually in a year?
We were thinking about that last night, and it's probably closer to, 8 to 10 a year that we go to. It doesn't seem like that many to us because, it's a joy, and that's where we go to see our extended family.
Yes.
That we weren't born to, but it's our big family reunion we love to go to. So.
Well, and I've felt that at the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering, and I'm not a poet, not a musician. I'm a committeeman, but I've had the the opportunity and the joy of making lots of friends that have shared poetry and music with me that I've found is very, very, very meaningful. And that's a wonderful thing. You do a poem, and I don't recall this poem myself, about the rabbit hunt.
Oh, goodness, Jim. I'll do it. You may remember it, but maybe you have just been busy at the gathering when I've done it, but audiences seem to enjoy it. It's an Elizabeth Ebert poem, and she was just a vivacious, sassy South Dakota ranch wife. And
yes, she was.
She was a treasure. And I was able to visit with her in Elko. And I asked her, Elizabeth, would it be okay if I did some of your poetry? And she says, oh, yes, that would be wonderful. Just make sure you give me the credit. And so I always do for Elizabeth. But this is called The Last Great Rabbit Hunt. Back when we first were married, we were short of cash. And so we decided we'd hunt rabbits to make some extra dough. Old Sure Shot with his .22 and me, the true believer, content to tag along behind and act as his retriever. The old jacks sure were plentiful. We really were in luck, for every 4 you took to town would bring about $1. But we'd not stoop to sell that way. We thought it would be nifty to wait to take him till we had some 45 or 50. And then we'd have a celebration, take in a show, no doubt, a glass of wine, maybe 2, and we'd have supper out. So we hunted through the winter every chance we got, for back there in the 40s, $1 meant a lot. And we stacked them on the roof of the north side of the shed, and the last time that we tallied, we had 100 head. And then the blizzards hit us. The wind, it never stopped. We shoveled snow and broke the ice and pitched hay till we dropped. And just as sudden came the sun and a warm and gentle breeze, and we calved those doggone heifers in mud up to our knees. And on that same wind wafted a stench across the lot, till finally we remembered those rabbits we'd forgot. One day I said, "You'll have to haul your rabbits out of here." His most ungallant answer was, "Those are our rabbits, dear." And so we made a compromise, and I, with much foreboding, said I would load the rabbits up if he'd do the unloading. So I shinnied up into onto the roof of that evil-smelling shed, and I shoveled off 100 stinking dead. Then we took off for the hills, far from our small abode, so he could fill his bargain's part and empty out the load. I sat there in the pickup, content I had done my share. Minute followed minute, and the rabbits were still there. I couldn't see them anywhere, till I followed up my hunch. There, on the ground, my husband lay, a-chucking up his lunch. Was this the macho hero that I had fought so hard to win? This sorry, sniveling sissy with vomit on his chin? Great was my disillusionment. I had really had enough. I'd show what I was made of. I'd prove that I was tough. I jumped up in that pickup truck and grabbed one big old jack, and fueled by righteous anger, I hurled him out the back. But at that very moment, above the truck's tailgate, appeared the sickly visage of my wretched, retching mate. I swear I tried to stay that throw. I really did my best, but that rank and rotten rabbit hit him squarely in the chest. I said that I was sorry, and I tried hard not to laugh, but the situation's humor somehow missed my better half. Full 40 years have passed, and still the memories make us wince. We have closed the book, suffice to say. We've shot no rabbits since. Elizabeth Ebert, Last Great Rabbit Hunt.
And you're right. I've had the pleasure of meeting Elizabeth, and she was at Prescott a number of years ago, and just a delightful lady.
Just a wonderful, delightful woman.
And a wonderful poet.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some others up there, too. Last year we had Yvonne Hollenbeck down from that country up there, and She's a wonderful poet also.
Yes, one of the
Yeah.
very best.
Yep. Floyd, you do a poem about birthdays.
Yes, I wrote this one recently, one of my newer ones, and I woke up last June one day and realized that I had just joined the 70s. And not the 1970s, but the 70-year-olds. And so I just got to thinking, boy, that seemed to happen awful fast. And this little story came to me, and they're always wanting a short one. Do you have a short one? So I wrote a short one on birthdays. It was the old boy's birthday. He was feeling rather meek. When I asked him what his tally was, he kind of turned red around the cheek. He said, "I've shot right past my 6th decade, and I'm halfway to the next." And then he got kind of quiet and seemed somewhat perplexed. I asked him where it hurt. Where was it he was ailing? He says, "No, I'm feeling fine. My health's not a failing. It's just," he says, "here's the thing, and I don't suppose you need told, but I figured it'd take a feller a lot longer to get this doggone old."
But we are thankful.
Yep.
It's better than the alternative.
You bet. You bet. Barb and I'll be 80 this summer. So we're thankful.
Yep.
Yes.
Good Lord has blessed us. When you all are traveling around, tell us some of the places you get to. I know you were just down at Sierra Vista at the Cochise gathering.
Yeah. In April, coming up, we're going to be at Genoa, Nevada for their little gathering there. We'll open for Trinity Seeley on Friday night and Dave Stamey on Saturday night. So we're looking forward to that.
You bet.
Where else?
Been up to Valentine, the
Old West Days.
Old West Days in Valentine,
And,
Durango.
Yes.
And
And
then we assist a little bit with the Western Slope
Yes.
gathering in Grand Junction, Colorado.
that'll be in the first weekend of November. And we'll be in encampment this year, Encampment, Wyoming.
The Grand Encampment gathering.
And then, of course, the Arizona Cowboy Poetry
Yay!
Gathering. It's one of our very, very, very favorites. It's just such a professional and classy organization, and you do such a good job here.
We have a wonderful committee that works really hard, and we've already been working hard on this coming year. We've got all of our performers selected and invited, and gathering photos and bios for the program and etc. So,
And we're very excited about this format you've developed for the Friday night show.
We are.
Good.
And so we're really looking forward to that. People better make plans to be there, because that's going to be a good one.
Valerie, you do a poem about ponies.
Yes.
Share that with us, please.
Okay. When Floyd and I went to look at the place to buy it about 10 years ago, the day we went, there were 2 white horses with their heads hanging over the gate. And it was almost like they were guardians of the place. And then when we went to closing, we found that they would stay there on the place. That was their home. They originally had been Mustangs out of the adoption program, and the Like brothers had gotten them and trained them to rope, and also rode them in feedlots and worked with them. And then as they got older, they just turned them loose to run in the pastures there. And but it's just more than just about the horses. It's also about the passing of an era, because when we bought the place, we were the second name on the deed.
Wow.
And the Like family had come in the late 1870s and homesteaded there on Middle Water, south of Kim, Colorado. And they were, we were the next ones to come. And so in time, one of the horses passed away, and we were left with just one of them. And so we turned him out with our horse. And they would come up into the corral, and we'd feed them both there. But you were never able to go and touch that horse because he had kind of reverted back to his ways as a wild horse, and he enjoyed his freedom, but he also enjoyed the food. But, this is about the passing of that era. 3 vultures graced the crossbar of the corral on Sunday morn, their presence a proclamation of death, grim and forlorn. He had died there in the corral, not too far from the gate, where, when it was feeding time, he'd often stand and wait. There was no sign of struggle, a snake bite, or a blow. I guess he heard his band calling, and he felt the need to go. His eyes had seen their first light, a Mustang on the plains, where the sage and sand gave wings to the spirit in his veins. In time, he found a soft hand that calmed his need for flight and settled down with cowboys that savvied their birthright. The gates had all stood open, so he could freely roam these canyons for 30 years, the place that he called home. But time declares dominion, saps strength from horse and man, leaving them tired and weary looking back where it began. Then today, he heard the thunder of his angel band's hoofbeat and looked forward to the meadows where the grass grows green and sweet. We'll no more see his soft eye, nor catch his wary glance, but we know he is wild and free where ponies fairly prance.
Nice. Again, sharing those feelings that I have observed that cowboys and ranchers seem to hold very deeply. Part of their life, part of what they do every day, and it's not just what us town folks do, going to pick up the newspaper out of the grass in the front yard and reading about what the world's doing. You folks are out there greeting animals and sharing in their lives, and I just think that's very special. Unfortunately, I don't know how to articulate that very well.
We're just really, really blessed to be able to live this life and to live away from distractions, and just to know, just let things be quiet, know that God's in control out there. And
yes,
we can just center ourselves and it's all fine. It's a good way to live.
Yes, it certainly is. This August, in addition to you all, we're going to have Trinity Seeley here for our Thursday night show. You mentioned her earlier. And then delightful young lady that's been with us before here in Prescott, Kristen Harris, is going to come back. And she's a young dynamo.
She is. She is a treasure.
And so we're going to have some great shows, and we've got about 40 plus other performers that are going to be here sharing their poetry and music with us. So again, please come and join us in August on the 6th, 7th, and 8th. And Floyd and Valerie, I want to thank you very, very much for being with us today and taking the extra time as you travel home to share a little of your poetry with us. That's special, and we do appreciate it. I want to thank you all for joining us and watching or listening to our podcast. We will be continuing these as we prepare for the 2025 gathering, 2026, goodness. The years are getting past me here. So we thank you very much for watching. Thanks, Floyd and Valerie, for being with us today. And
Thank you.
until we meet again, adios.